I'm Larry Ajayi, and I'm reaching now on channel 1973.1 DT on people, places, and events. This is My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary International Film Festival Special Edition. The last day of summer is today, and it's beautiful out there, right in front of Globe Cinema here in downtown Calgary. COVID-19 has totally changed the trajectory of how consumers and producers of movies go about viewing and making their film. My City Speaks to Me is curious on how this industry will continue to thrive, creating unique contents that tell us our stories from our lenses. On this episode, I'll have the opportunity of talking with two local film directors, producers, and writers, asking them to share their ideas and the challenges they encounter in making their film, and also having a chat with some of the staff that works behind the scene at CIFF, especially planning this huge festival in a COVID year. Like I do it on this show, don't move a muscle, stretch. We'll be right back after the cinema. Still on My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary Edition, a special edition for Calgary International Film Festival 2021. Now, the COVID challenges and with the new restriction has really changed how the viewers and the audiences go about seeing the movies and how producers and directors go about making the movies. And today I have a local film writer, producer, and director, Crawford, in their house, and he's going to be talking to us about his latest project that is going to be screened here this year at the film festival. How are you, Sean?
Good. How you doing, man?
It's all about COVID. I love to shake and hug, but
I miss shaking and hugging for sure.
Me
I'm a
too.
Hugger. Yeah,
me too. Thank you very much for making it today on this show. And we'll go straight to the question now. What is your take about the many challenges of COVID-19 in relation to filmmaking?
Yeah, in relation to filmmaking, I think filmmaking's always been a practice in an industry that's pretty innovative and resilient and comes up with a lot of solutions. So maybe it's just because I was paying attention to it closer, but to me it seemed like one of the first creative industries that really mobilized to come up with some solutions to make sure everyone could keep making film, So they were coming up with new protocol, new practices, new positions, new people to have on set. And so that's always fun to see. People just want to make movies so badly, that they'll find ways to do it by hook or by crook. Not actually by crook in this case, everyone followed the law. And then it slows productions down, you know what I mean? They cost a little more, they take a little bit longer, but everyone's still finding a way to get it done.
That is amazing. Now, what is your relationship with Calgary? Born here, raised there, school here, tell us.
I was raised here, so like a lot of people, around my generation, we were often born somewhere else and moved here. You meet a lot more people born in Calgary these days. So I was born just outside Toronto, and my family moved here when I was 1. So I have no memory of it. So it's the same as being born and raised in Calgary for me. And I moved to Vancouver for a little bit, and Edmonton for a little bit, but Calgary's ultimately where I decided to settle down and build a life and raise a family and all that.
So you decided to come back to Calgary. I haven't gone around the country. So why did you choose Calgary? What is that thing that is so spectacular that makes you, oh, Calgary is home for me?
It's funny, I've had a interesting relationship with Calgary. So, the main reason is my family's here and my roots are here. And those are things that are really important to me, and I wanted to raise my kids around my family and all that. I often say, if my family weren't here, I wonder if I would be living somewhere else in the world. So I've often had this kind of thing where I don't know, maybe I wouldn't be in Calgary, but more and more lately I've been feeling a stronger kinship with it, and it just feels like there's kind of an opportunity here to turn Calgary into something, whereas a lot of other places are already, established into what they are and have been for some time.
It's amazing. So what can you say about the movie industry in Calgary in terms of how far we've gone?
Well, it's come a long way. I just in terms of number of productions, and size of productions and the different types of projects that come here, predominantly from Hollywood. I think what's interesting to me is the growth of the independent scene in Calgary. Every year it seems like there's more independent filmmakers trying to get their own projects off the ground. So that's something that I'm always really excited to see for sure. When I think of film in Calgary, I think potential, enormous potential that we're just scratching the surface on still.
That is amazing. So, Here and After is your film, written, produced, and directed by you, and it's going to be screened at this year Calgary International Film Festival. So tell us about this. project?
So Here and After is a feature film. It's a romance. It's kind of like, sci-fi is not quite the right word for it. It's got a little enchantment, is how I like to describe it.
Yeah.
All my projects have a bit of magic realism in them. So it's about a woman who experiences life backwards. So she lives her life backwards one day at a time. And the film takes place on the day that her and her husband meet. So for him, it's the first time he's ever meeting her, and for her, it's the last time she's ever going to see him.
Wow.
And so he's kind of learning to believe in love again, and she's kind of coming to terms with how she's going to say goodbye and move on. So that's the premise of the film.
I'm intrigued. I feel like I need to see this movie. You know,
Come check it out.
You know, the wife is seeing the husband for the last time,
Yeah.
and the husband is seeing her for the first time.
Totally.
Wow, I love the idea of the arrangement and how you take things backward, and then, you know.
Yeah, it's fun. You get a lot of fun dynamics at play that you wouldn't normally have. But then the idea is to make those, you know, that unique high concept dynamic universally relevant, you know, to everybody who doesn't experience life backwards.
That is cool. So here after, how long does it take you to, you know, produce this film?
Gosh, you know, a year and a half,
Wow.
maybe. Like, we shot for 10 days, and it's so funny with films, you know, the entire pre-production and post-production is all, you know, on this tiny fulcrum where you're actually shooting. You know, it often feels like there's so much pressure because of that. But because it was an independent film, extremely micro budget, not a lot of money to go around,
Yeah.
you know, so people working on it are getting paid more on other projects, you know, so it's kind of, they're doing this because they're cool and they like to work on stuff like this, and we pay them what we can, but it's often a lower priority compared to what else they're doing. And so because of that, it just kind of takes longer as well. It's sort of when people have time to get around to it, you know, that's when they're doing it, aside from their shoot dates, of course, you know. And then we shot it before COVID. We shot it the October, kind of before everyone went into lockdown.
Yeah.
So as we were in post-production, that kind of, at first it slowed things down a little bit, and then it kind of sped it up because people had other projects that were getting canceled, unfortunately.
Talking in terms of budgeting, what is a major factor that affects, you know, how much you pay artists, or how well you can, you know, how you would have loved to do your movies? In what way do you think that the government of Alberta or Calgary can support, you know, filmmakers?
Whew. I don't know, we got time for this one, government of Alberta? Alberta does a good job. They put a lot of money into the film industry. What I think would be cool is if some more of that money went to independent filmmakers. You know, so a lot of it is to incentivize foreign productions to come in and shoot here in Alberta. You know, so we're kind of a service provider for Hollywood films. So we got, you know, Ghostbusters and stuff like that. And so it's super cool, right? And it's a lot of work for everyone. It's great for the city. It's great for the industry. We have world-class crews. You know, Alberta's done an amazing job at training amazing crews. However, I think it would be cool if some of that could be allocated to independent filmmakers who are owners of those projects. Then they could pay the same wages to the crew. You know what I mean? They could hire stars, you know, big budget stars to show up in their films. They just need to be kind of supported and funded and empowered. We don't want to lose the foreign investment because that's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you give, I don't know, $1, $5, $10 million to independent filmmakers here, Sandy Summers, Anna Cooley, Light Factory, Matt Waterworth, Scott Westby, they can make some world-class films, you know? So I think that would be really cool if there was something like that set up.
Thank you very much. And the governments are hearing you now, and those interested are taking note. And we hope that we can have more, you know, support. And that's what we're asking for, support, because Calgary, or Alberta as a province, is blessed with abundance of multi-talented individuals who have, you know, world-class ideas that can, you know, put this city and put this province on the map.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I'm talking when you say potential, or you know, cultivating a Calgarian identity and culture. You know, like if programs can invest more in us, you know, in our people, and in our voice, you know, that we're still kind of establishing, I think we could, you know, kind of carve out a special, you know, niche in film, not just geographically, but historically too.
That is amazing. So after this project, after this screening, what is the next big thing you're working on, or what is the future, you know, project?
I've always got a lot of things on the go. So I'm a big believer in, I always say, put as many ships out to sea as you can.
Yeah.
It's hard to make projects. It's hard to make films. It's even harder to make good ones. I'm, still working on making better films all the time. Funding them is a huge challenge. And so the more irons you can put in the fire, the better, So I got another micro-budget feature that I co-wrote with a woman named Gina Lloyd's, an amazing writer. I'm trying to find a way to fund that. I'm working on another script right now. I'm writing some true crime docs for a showrunner named Paige Boudreau. She's amazing. And then I work full-time at a XR company making virtual reality and augmented reality projects called Mammoth XR, and we're just about to launch a really cool VR project right now. So
sounds like a busy guy. Have your hands here and there and working. So what?
Got lots on the go, man. Well, I don't do much else. I got family. Family's number one for me. That takes up all my time. But my hobbies are then, I write. That's what I do. I'm just trying to get stuff on the go. So, that's what my time goes to.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see here and after, with the one and only Sean Crawford at Calgary International Film Festival 2021. Starting from 23rd of September till October 3rd.
And Here and After is on September 27th, Monday 7:15 at Eau Claire. Still some seats left. Come check it out or watch it online. But it's better on the big screen.
Thank you very much for your time today. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Stu Massey Speaks to Me, the Calgary Edition. Special focus on Calgary International Film Festival 2021. I have in the house with me Scott Westby, Director Johnson. How are you, Scott?
Good, man. Good to meet you.
Yeah.
How have you been?
So, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. It's a beautiful day in Calgary. The festival's coming up. I can't remember the last Christmas I was excited for as I am for this festival.
That's amazing. Now, COVID-19 has really, changed the trajectory of how we do things.
Of course. Yeah.
How things are being done, and then with the new restriction, what do you think? How do you see, movie making going forward?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. The film industry has always pivoted really quickly, and it's always been such a resilient industry. We were one of the first industries to really react to COVID in a way that was able to get us back up and running quickly. The protocols that were implemented were so strict and so fast that it was really actually kind of benefited the Calgary film industry, even though it's been so hard for so many people. When the Calgary International Airport introduced rapid testing, suddenly we were one of the only jurisdictions in the world where you could come and film without having to quarantine for 2 weeks. So it's actually, obviously it's been hard for a lot of people, but in some ways it's actually been really good for us.
Yeah. Cool. Now, you're the director on Johnson.
Yeah.
Tell us about this film.
Sure. Johnson is a crime comedy feature film. It's my directorial debut, so it's the first feature that I've directed. And it's about the small town country boy, Deke Jones, who's passing through the big city, and he takes a pit stop at this dive bar and gets mistaken for a gang leader. So he gets kidnapped by these kind of incompetent criminals and manages to escape and finds himself stuck in the big city, just trying to get out of town, kind of caught in the middle of this gang feud.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of this funny, gritty case of mistaken identity.
So, and what can you tell us about the cast and crew? Are they all local?
Not all local, no. Our lead was from Los Angeles. His name's Brandon Sklenar.
Okay.
He was in Vice, he was in Midway. He's going to be a superstar. Like, this guy is absolutely fantastic. He brings the movie to life. He really puts the heart into it. We had Kristen Gutowski from Lethal Weapon and The Handmaid's Tale, and then the rest of our cast was local from Calgary or Edmonton. And we really tried to push our characters as far as we could to really make them interesting, especially with a genre like this. And especially the Calgary cast, they really stepped up, and they just made these wonderful characters. Even if they're small in the film, they're interesting and they're just cool to watch. So yeah, I'm so proud of them.
Now, working on this project, how long does it take you?
Well, we were actually writing the script for this project in 2012.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a long time. And then we ended up making another movie in Plainview before it, and it came back to this project. So we shot it in 2018. A ton of help from the Calgary Economic Development and the Calgary Film Center. And yeah, it took a little while to go through post-production, but here we are launching it at CIFF, so the world premiere is coming up next week.
That's amazing. Now, what can you say about the movie industry in Calgary in terms of how far we've gone?
The film industry in Calgary has come a long way since I graduated. The state has a great film program that I graduated from about 13 years ago, and it was quiet here. You know, it's had some boom and bust cycles, but in the last 10 years, it's really growing as an international film jurisdiction. It's a lot easier to start as a filmmaker here. and cut your teeth here and actually hopefully stay here and make movies here. So last year alone, the film industry has doubled in the last year as far as the amount of production going on. So it's a great time to be a filmmaker in Calgary.
Despite the COVID challenges.
It must be, yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but you know, HBO's The Last of Us, the largest production in Canadian history, is filming in and around Calgary, as well as a bunch of other movies. Skulls, the new Predator movie, just wrapped here this spring. So there's been a lot of international production happening here, which helps the local indie filmmakers because it gives us work and it keeps, you know, really incredible trained crews here that we can leverage for independent productions.
That is cool. So talking in terms of attracting, you know, big names, international stars. So the question I have is, what steps can the city and the province take to attract more international artists and screenings during Calgary International Film Festival, like we have in Toronto and other part of the country?
Right. That's a tough one. You know, TIFF is one of the biggest film festivals in the world. Yeah. It's really hard to compete against a festival like that. But CIFF is doing a great job. What people don't necessarily know about TIFF, for instance, is that it's also kind of a film market. Yeah. So there are distributors and there are buyers there watching those movies and putting them on major platforms like Netflix or HBO Max or putting them in theaters. And so CIFF has been really smart over the last few years. They introduced Industry Week, which is starting to help solve that puzzle of making sure that the industry is supported here and growing here. And so the city and the province can help CIFF in that regard, you know, incentivize them to continue growing that industry week. And, you know, it just takes time to grow a festival into something as large as TIFF. And so, you know, just keep programming great films, local, but of course, international and, you know, big movies. And sometimes those stars come here, and, you know, Calgary's a great city, and the actors who come work here never have anything but nice things to say about working here, right? So the more that we get our face out there in the world, the more we're going to attract that kind of interest.
Yeah, one step at a time, we're going to get to that level.
Yeah, it's not going to solve itself overnight, but just keep, you know, we keep pushing and we'll get there.
That is cool. So talking about Calgary, what is your relationship with Calgary? Born, raised, school? Yeah.
I was born 5 minutes away from here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just there?
Just down the road at Holy Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my town, you know, I was raised here, and it's part of why I'm really passionate about creating a sustainable film industry in Calgary where filmmakers can come up, cut their teeth, and stay here making movies and TV series.
A word of advice for aspiring film directors or filmmakers, what will you say to them?
The advice I always give is just start making stuff. You know, it's never been easier, not only from an industry support perspective, but you've got a camera in your pocket, right? And maybe you don't need an Arri Alexa to make your first short film. You can do it with, I made a tiny little feature fresh out of high school with a Handycam and my buddies in the woods. And I learned more making that than film school could ever teach you. So it's just the act of doing it, and you will either discover that maybe it's not for you and you don't love it as much as you thought you might, or you'll start really getting into it, and, you know, passion becomes a profession.
Thank you very much. It's amazing having you today.
Thanks for
And then I'm looking forward to seeing Johnson.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we're looking forward to having you guys.
And so do
there.
you.
Cheers.
Right back. This is My City Speaks to Me, the Calgary Edition. Now, this is a special edition for Calgary International Film Festival happening from the 23rd of this month. And it's an honor for me to have Brenda Lieberman, the lead programmer for Calgary International Film Festival, in the house this beautiful sunny afternoon. How are you, Brenda?
I'm doing great, thanks.
That's amazing, and I love the weather. And
it's amazing.
This is the last day of summer.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have most of summer through the festival, so it's great.
It's gonna be amazing. Now, Calgary International Film Festival is one of the spectacular events that happens in Calgary every year from September till October. And it's one of the favorite festivals for Calgarians and other, you know, individuals out of town, and also for filmmakers, directors, producers, and movie makers who are aspiring to, you know, do something. And this year has been very challenging, you know, because of the COVID-19 and with the new restrictions. You know, this has totally changed the trajectory of how consumers and producers of movie makers and movie producers, you know, go about making films and producing films. And that is why, you know, from your own perspective as the lead programmer, can you tell our audience, you know, what are some of the challenges that it's associated with planning this huge festival?
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge that we've had is not knowing if we were going to be able to be in person in cinema or online. So last year when we had to shift to how the festival was operating and we went online and in cinema, we invested in an online platform and a lot of technical skills amongst the team to convert the festival. So our biggest challenge is just continuing to go with the ever-changing landscape right now and figuring out how to navigate it for the audience and the film. So, we are online again and we are in cinema reduced capacity, and each day or each week the rules are changing.
Yeah.
So we just try to figure out how to adapt, and our staff have gotten really good at going with that flow, and so is the audience. So, we are giving the audience 2 different ways to see films on how they're comfortable, and we are doing the double vaccination or negative COVID test. So that's a big help to getting people feeling comfortable coming to the theater. So that's the biggest challenges with COVID, is just trying to figure out how the festival is going to be able to be each year right now while we're getting through this.
And all it in a very safe space where people can come and feel comfortable. I was going to ask you the question about how will people access the films, about COVID testing here and there, and thank you very much for, providing us with that answer. For individuals who want to come to see the film, they can still come provided they have a proof of double vaccination.
Exactly, yeah.
What about those individuals who because I heard from some of the events that is happening in town around this time that if you don't have that proof, you can actually go for a rapid test, 72 hours negative test. Would that apply to CIFF as well?
Yes, it will, yeah, for sure. So you could go and get a test. We're recommending people go to Shoppers Drug Mart because it's the most affordable and it's quick and easy. $40, get your negative test, come to the festival, enjoy it.
That's amazing. So I have one question for you. Now, what can you say about the movie industry in Calgary in terms of how far we've gone?
Well, it's gone hugely far, in my opinion, in Calgary. We just, between our film commissioner and the Calgary Economic Development, they've really done a lot of promotion and outreach with filmmaking in Calgary, and we've just had a lot of new film productions happening here this year from different series and feature films, and we've been able to expand the crews that Alberta has to offer. So where we maybe only had 2 or 3 complete film crews, we've been able to do as a community a lot of outreach to get people to apply crossover skills and be part of the unions and be able to expand the different unions and crews that we do have to accommodate all the film that's happening here.
That's amazing. Thank you very much. Now, the next question I have for you is, in what ways do you believe the movie industry can provide substantial economic benefits to the city and the province?
I think it's really endless, but it's definitely like employment. Every crew that comes is filling the productions with food and drinks and props and set decorations. So they're shopping, they're spending money here on the production, on the crews, and then again the hiring. And of course, COVID is making everything more expensive. So there's also, enhanced positions on set and more positions on set than there maybe was before to accommodate for the new rules and regulations surrounding COVID on film. So I'd say that, Calgary and Alberta sees a huge increase in revenue when there's film productions here.
Thank you very much for that answer. Now, this year, on the average, just give our audience a brief tip of the iceberg. How many films, is going to be screened this year?
So we have about 110 feature films and roughly 100 short films.
Wow.
And the short films are packaged into shorts packages, about 10 packages. Some are shorts before features. So a lot of content, over 200 screenings.
That is huge. Over 200 screenings, that is amazing. So now you as the lead programmer, tell us, what does it mean, to be a lead programmer at Calgary International Film Festival?
Well, I love it. It means a lot. But it's like our team's working all year round. So we're looking at films even as early as last year or ahead of time to kind of see what's happening with the trends and which filmmakers are making what features and shorts, and we're keeping an eye on them. We're traveling to festivals. We're keeping in touch with different distributors. We have called for submissions. We all have all sorts of ways that we're looking for content for the festival. And we have it in our heads and we have documents, and we're constantly watching films to see what we think would be the best fit for our Calgary audience, and be a really good representation and overview of what the whole world is kind of looking at for cinema each year. So we are looking for award-winning titles and films that might get shortlisted for Oscar nominations, and just trying to get the best of what we think from all the various countries and styles of films.
That is amazing. Now, talking about in terms of the screenings, during the festival, is there a platform where a seminar can be organized for aspiring filmmakers? Like I remember in the past, before COVID, there are some seminars in between the festival where industry giants, accomplished actors and actresses and producers have a seminar or kind of a workshop where they can engage aspiring to be producers or actors. So with the COVID restrictions and all that is happening, are we going to be having something like that?
Yeah, so we do have Industry Week. We've just kind of moved all the panels and discussions to the first half of the festival. They are happening both in cinema and being streamed for live virtual. So you could watch it at home, or you could come and watch it at the festival, and you could get an industry pass if you haven't already. And these are for emerging and aspiring filmmakers to listen to different conversations, different topics with different levels of filmmakers from within the festival. And they cover all sorts of topics: documentary filmmaking, indigenous filmmaking, all sorts of stuff. So
cool. So the festival is starting on what day?
September 23rd on Thursday.
Till
October 3rd.
October 3rd.
Yeah.
And how can audiences access tickets? If it's not too late.
Not too late. Yeah, you can go to ciffcalgary.ca, and all sorts of ticket options are available, but I recommend people get a ticket bundle. It's a little bit reduced in price, and you can get tickets for, let's say, 3 or more films, and you can gift them or use them all for yourself.
That is amazing. Thank you very much for your time today on the show, and we'll be right back.